Hello, Precalculus student. This video is for chapter 3.2, quadratic function. Quadratic function had a formula that has an x squared term. So we'll talk about what is the exact form of a quadratic function. You already know about a quadratic function. So long it is kind of like a parabola shape, which it has a axis of symmetry in the middle of the parabola, then we would say it is a quadratic function. And in terms of formula, so if it has a parent function with y equal to x squared, then it is a quadratic function. So that means it has an x squared term undergoing transformation that's still called a quadratic function. So in general, it's U-shaped because our main parent function is U-shaped, right? So it could be facing down if you have a reflection from the parent function like this. So it could be upside down U shape. What are some of the features of a quadratic functions? Namely, because it's U-shaped, it would has an extreme point. This extreme point in the U-shaped situation when it's facing up is the minimum value, right? So it's minimum. But if it's facing down, then you will have a maximum. Okay, facing down, then you have max. They always have a vertex, and in general, we call it HK. It's just a symbol that we assign it. So generally, if it is a parent function, the vertex is at 0, 0. So HK is where it shifts horizontally and vertically. Axis of symmetry is the vertical line that is not part of the quadratic or the parabola, but it is a vertical line that cut the parabola into two equal parts, so they are symmetrical on both sides. And we call it axis of symmetry. So it is a vertical line, so we write it as x equal to h because it passed through the vertex. So sometimes it will have zeros. So in this case, on this picture, we see two zeros. So they're actually intercepts. So 0 is when the y coordinate is 0. And you could have no 0. You can have 1 or 2 zeros. One of the cases when there's 1 0 would be if the parabola just touched the x-axis once at one point. Or the parabola, like, don't intersect with x-axis. So there would be no zeros. Y-intercept is always 1. The point is when x is 0 and also f of 0. So when you plug in 0 to the formula, you would have a y-intercept. Okay, so what is the exact formula of a parabola? Like if I look at the graph, what do I expect? So it could be written in two forms. First is called a general form, and we talk about the fact that because it's a transformation of the x squared function, it always have the x squared term, and then it might have the x term or constant. So in general, we call it ax squared plus bx plus c, kind of like the quadratic formula, where make sure that a is not 0. Okay, it always have the x squared term. So a could be positive, a could be negative, but if it is written in this form, then the vertex would be, the vertex hk would be with h would equal to negative b over 2a, negative b over 2a. And the because the axis of symmetry goes through the x coordinate, so the vertical line is x equal to negative b over 2a. So this is something that you need to like memorize, and you can derive it by completing the square. The book has a description on how to do this, but in terms of using it, we would know, okay, if I need to graph this function, I know where the vertex is by finding negative b over 2a first, and then plug the negative b over 2a back into f of x, and that will determine the vertex. After that, then you can find AOS, the axis of symmetry, and determine where the maximum or minimum value is, because the maximum or minimum value is the y coordinate of the vertex by finding f of h. Standard form is sometimes known as vertex form. You can also write the quadratic function into a in a groups of square term without x term. So if you group it like this, this is purely a transformation of y equal to x squared. Do you see? There is minus h inside, that means shift to the right h, plus k outside of the x squared, that is shift up, right? A is either a reflection or a vertical shift or compression. So if it is written in vertex form, that's really easy to graph because the HK is the vertex. Just think about if you use x squared and then shift it left and right and up and down to stop at that place. So that would be the vertex HK. So it just shows up here. But remember, it's x minus h squared. You shift to the right by default. And also, so when A, let's look at A. When A is positive, then it opens up, and then because it opens up, the minimum value is at f of negative b over 2a. Is at as y equal to k. You will have minimum. A is positive because it's face up, so you have minimum. You can think of A positive being happy face, so happy face is facing up, so facing up you have a minimum. When A is, so maybe I'll graph it here. So like this, and this point is HK, or if you don't have H, it is it is negative B over 2A. So if your formula is written in vertex form, that's H. If it is not, then it's negative B over 2A. K is the minimum Y. And when A is negative, then it is a reflection of the parent function of x squared. So you still have HK here, but you just reflect over the x-axis, so it become like this. Or again, negative b over 2a, and k is also f of h. So this is the same, f of h. But we would say this point, k is equal to, and this is equal to the maximum y. Of all the y, this is the highest. So y equal to k, or f of negative b over 2a. So two examples. The first is, if I have a function, I don't use a grapher to graph it, can I find the vertex, axis of symmetry, and minimum value from just a formula function? Because if I look at the graph, I can write all these, right? If I don't have the graph, how do I do? Oh, this is written in vertex form. Do you see that it's written in vertex form? You have a group of square term and no x terms outside and a constant term. So if I write the like the template for it, it would be a x minus h square plus k. Okay, so just need to remember this is the vertex template. And when I match everything, so a is equal to negative 1. Oh, it is less than 0, right? So it's facing down. The first thing you look at is this facing down. I will have a what? I would have a maximum. I can immediately circle this. And then I look at h and k. H is 1 because I'm doing minus, so this is minus, h is 1, k is 4. So hk is the vertex, so you can write vertex. You don't have to do any negative b2 over 2a. If it's in vertex form, no need. So just this is the vertex. So I know in my graph, I would go, this point is 1, 4, and I would graph something like that, okay? 1, 4, and it's the maximum. So what is the axis of symmetry? Axis of symmetry is a line that passes through the vertex x equal to 1. It is a line, so you don't say axis of symmetry is 1. Axis of symmetry is a vertical line of x equal to 1. And we know maximum y is 4, is this one. So basically, you use the vertex to find two things, axis of symmetry and maximum. In this case, because it's facing down. The second one, is this a vertex form or a general term form? It has a group of square terms and a constant outside, so it's a vertex form. So again, I write the template, x minus h square plus k. So you can imagine yourself, A is positive, right? And it is 1/2, that means vertical compression by 1/2. 1/2 greater than 0, that means facing up. So you know you would have a minimum, right? I have a minimum. So you would say minimum exists, no maximum. And then I match it. So h would equal to, well, I'm supposed to be minus h. So I have a plus 1. That means minus 1. K is 3. So because of that, the vertex would be negative 1, 3. And out of this vertex, I know that, okay, I graph my stuff like this, right? A negative 1 and then up 3. So it's facing up like that. So you can kind of know, sketch it like this. And so what is the axis of symmetry? Dot, 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 dot. X would equal to negative 1 is the axis of symmetry. Remember, it's a vertical line. A vertical line is x equal to something. And then we say a minimum exists, right? Because it's like the lowest point. Minimum y is equal to 3. Okay, minimum. So by looking at the template of a vertex form, I can graph it really quickly. I know a lot of features about this parabola. What about if it is not in those group of x squared term? So see how this is loose terms. 3 terms have an x term here and an x squared. It's a square, but it's not a group of square. So this is not in vertex form, but in general form with A, B, C. You might ask, Ms. Chen, what about if I don't have this, just 2x squared plus 12, what happened? It's up to you. You can use it as a general term. You can also write it as a vertex form where you just do plus 0, right? So either one is fine. So maybe we'll do one in class. So we have a general form, not vertex. So don't read HK because HK only works if it is in this vertex format. Okay, x minus h or all square, not just x square. So I have to calculate h, right? I don't know how they shift. So it's very hard to read the shift left and right. It's not related to transform, or it is very difficult to see the transformation. So I'll calculate h by, remember the formula is negative b over 2a. So in this case, it's negative 8 over 2 times 2 is 4. That's negative 2. And what is k? K is f of negative 2, f of whatever that you find. So 2 times negative 2 squared plus 8 times negative 2 plus 12. So 2 squared is 4. So this would be 8 minus 16 plus 12. So it is equal to 4. 2 comma 4. So I will write it here. Vertex 2 comma 4. Oh, I didn't look at A. A is positive, right? A is positive, so it's facing up. If it's facing up, I have a minimum, right? And also, do I know my axis of symmetry? My axis of symmetry would always pass through this 2, right? X equal to 2, and then I have a minimum y is equal to 4. So once you get the vertex, you are done with locating all the characteristics of this parabola. What about if I have another one like this? Is it like a funky A? So this A is negative. I know that it is facing down. So the first number that is the coefficient of x squared tells me that. And you know that this is not a vertex form. There's no like group of square and there's an x term. So this is the ABC general form. ABC. So I would have to calculate h, which is negative 4, negative b over 2a. A is negative 0.2, so it's negative 0.1, so it's 0.2, 2a. So that means negative 40 over 2, so mean negative, positive. Negative b over 2a is a negative, so it is 20. Okay, not negative 20, it's 20. So k is what? K is equal to f of 20. So I plug 20 into it, so k would equal to negative 0.1, 20 squared plus 4 times 20 minus 30. So doing all the calculations, so there's be 400 times this, so it's negative 40 plus 80 minus 30. So that's equal to 10. So my vertex would be, oh, it's not very nice spelling. Vertex vertex is the hk that we have. It was h is 20, y is 10, right? And we know it's facing down. So once you know the vertex, you know that, okay, shift over there and then up. So, and it's facing down. So you can imagine that the axis of symmetry is a vertical line that goes through 20, x equal to 20. And it's a minimum, right? Because it's facing down. Minimum y is equal to 10. The minimum function value is 10. So in the next section, we'll talk about how to find x and y intercept of quadratic function. We want to know, like by just looking at a formula, how can we discover all these features of a quadratic function that we can see in a graph? So a formula can show a lot of stuff if we know how to solve it. Okay, so that would be the next video.